God is speaking. Are you listening? What if the reason you feel lost right now isn't because God stopped speaking, but because you never paused long enough to hear Him? Let that sink in. Imagine, just for a moment, that everything around you suddenly went silent. Not the ordinary kind of silence, but a deep, almost sacred stillness, the kind that reveals truths you've been running from. Now ask yourself, what would you hear? And more importantly, what have you been avoiding? Because maybe, just maybe, God has been speaking to you all along, but your life became so loud that His voice got buried beneath the noise. And here's the uncomfortable truth. It wasn't Him who stepped away. It was you who got distracted. We live in a world that never stops. Notifications, responsibilities, expectations, pressure from every direction. Your mind is constantly racing, trying to keep up with everything at once. And without even realizing it, your soul gets pushed into the background. You wake up already overwhelmed, you go through the day reacting instead of reflecting, and by the time the night comes, you're exhausted, but not at peace. And in the middle of all that noise, something sacred gets lost. Because God doesn't compete with chaos. He doesn't shout to be heard. His voice comes quietly, through peace, through intuition, through a gentle nudge that only those who slow down can recognize. So let me ask you, when was the last time you were truly still? How many times have you prayed, but felt like you were talking to yourself? You asked for answers, direction, clarity, but all you received was silence. And in that silence, doubt started to grow. Is God ignoring me? Did He forget me? But what if the silence wasn't rejection? What if it was preparation? What if that quiet moment you feared was actually creating space for something deeper? Because here's where everything shifts. What feels like absence can actually be protection. What feels like delay can actually be construction. And what feels like silence might be direction in disguise. The problem is, we expect answers at the speed of anxiety, but God moves at the pace of purpose. So let me bring this closer to you. When was the last time you truly listened? Not to people, not to opinions, not to the noise around you, but to God. When was the last time you turned everything off and allowed silence to do its work? Because maybe the distance you feel right now isn't real, it's just misalignment. Think of it like tuning an old radio. If you're slightly off the right frequency, all you hear is static. But when you find the exact point, everything becomes clear. And maybe your life isn't out of control. Maybe it's just out of tune. So the real question is, are you listening, or just waiting for God to speak louder? There's something else we rarely admit. We search everywhere for answers, friends, social media, quick advice, temporary solutions, but ignore the only source that truly knows what's inside of us. We try to fix internal battles with external noise. We look for peace in places that can't provide it. And then we wonder why nothing changes. But here's the turning point. The answer you've been chasing has been near you the whole time. You just got used to looking far for what was always close. And God, in His patience, hasn't walked away. He's simply waiting for you to return. Not in desperation, not in noise, but in stillness. Let me ask you something deeper now. Are your prayers conversations, or just monologues? Because sometimes we talk so much, asking, complaining, explaining, that we forget to leave space to listen. Prayer was never meant to be a one-way release of words. It's a connection, a moment of openness. And listening to God doesn't require perfection, it requires honesty, real presence. Maybe you've been mistaking silence for emptiness, when in reality, silence is where clarity is born. It's where direction becomes visible. It's where your soul finally breathes. And here's a truth that changes everything. Many times, we blame God for a distance that we created. We say He's not responding, but we never paused long enough to hear the response. We say He's absent, but we filled every space with distractions. We say life is too heavy, but it's often in the weight that He strengthens us the most. This realization isn't here to accuse you, it's here to free you. Because God never left. He never ignored your pain. He never overlooked your tears. What happened was simpler and deeper. Your heart got overwhelmed by noise and lost connection. But right now, in this moment, you have a choice. Imagine this. You take a few minutes today. No phone. No interruptions. No distractions. Just you and God. No pressure to say the perfect words. No expectation. Just presence. And in that silence, something begins to shift. First comes peace. Then clarity. Then a quiet certainty you haven't felt in a long time. I'm not alone. That moment has the power to change everything. Because faith doesn't grow in noise, it grows in intimacy. And intimacy begins when you stop talking and start listening. So here's the question that brings everything together. Are you willing to listen again? Not out of obligation. Not out of routine. But from a real, deep place within you. Are you willing to disconnect from the noise? To reconnect with what truly matters? Because God didn't abandon you. He didn't walk away. He didn't go silent. The connection didn't break from His side. But today, you can restore it. Listening is not passive. It's a decision. It's an act of courage. It's choosing to slow down in a world that tells you to rush. It's choosing depth over distraction. And when you make that decision, everything begins to change. Anxiety starts to lose its grip. Fear begins to fade. And your faith, your real living faith, starts to grow again. So take a breath. And if something inside you is telling you that this message is for you, don't ignore it. Close your eyes for a moment and say quietly, God, I want to hear you again. And then, just be still. Because the truth is, He never stopped speaking. You just needed to listen.